drinking every night and doing all this and beat you.
Yeah, it's bad.
If you look at the fight, he was much slower. He only threw a hook.
So word just dropped, and Tank Davis is absolutely losing his mind over what happened to Jake Paul. The WBA lightweight champ has been running his mouth non-stop since watching Anthony Joshua completely demolish the YouTuber this past Friday night in Miami. What Tank's been saying about Jake's busted jaw and those missing teeth has got everyone in boxing talking crazy.
He was going like tie him down and catch him with a good shot and shit like that.
So wait, do you think, curious, because it's a business aspect, but again, I'm still a nigga, and
Davis hasn't been able to contain himself after seeing those hospital shots of Jake's face looking like it went through a blender. People from Tank's crew are saying he's been cracking up ever since Joshua put Paul to sleep in that 6th round beatdown.
But will you take care of me forever and ever?
3 in the morning, I can't sleep, my jaw's busted. They wired it up a couple hours ago and it hurts every time I move my mouth. I lost tonight, I gave everything and I still lost. Feels like I let it.
Jake Paul just went through one of the most vicious beatdowns we've seen in boxing lately. Got dropped 4 different times before Joshua shut his lights out completely in round 6. But what happened after the fight might be even more insane than the actual beating itself. Saturday morning rolls around and Paul's posting these nasty x-ray pictures from the hospital showing his jaw cracked in 2 different spots. Everyone watching that fight knew something was seriously wrong. Anthony Joshua hits like a freight train compared to anyone Jake's ever stepped in there with before. Paul drops this Instagram post saying double broken jaw, give me Canelo in 10 days. This completely delusional call-out blew up instantly with millions of boxing fans just roasting Jake for getting his face rearranged and then immediately wanting an even more dangerous opponent. But when Tank Davis saw these injuries, his responses started the biggest drama of the whole weekend. His comments got the entire combat sports world picking sides.
Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull and it can bump into the skull, which is a firm structure, and can cause bruising of the brain.
Now before we dive into Tank's absolutely ruthless reaction, let's talk about the real damage Jake Paul took, because it's way more horrific than most people understand. Multiple sources from Miami University Hospital are saying Jake Paul needed emergency surgery right after the fight. Doctors worked all night long trying to fix the destruction Anthony Joshua caused.
Repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease, because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia, like Alzheimer's disease. And
people close to Paul's medical team are confirming that surgery went on for more than 4 hours. Surgeons had to put in 2 titanium plates on each side of his jaw just to keep the fracture stable. One medical insider dropped this bomb. The impact from Joshua's final right hand was so devastating that it completely destroyed both sides of Jake's jawbones at the same time. We rarely see this type of damage except in major car accidents. That statement really shows you just how insane Anthony Joshua's punching power actually is. This is why so many boxing experts kept warning Jake Paul that stepping in with a real heavyweight champion was basically a suicide mission.
Jake Paul gets his jaw broken. Not only that, but he gets his lower jaw broken from the right and the left side. So both sides. And not only this, following that, he went through an emergency surgery procedure to get that sorted out, and titanium plates were inserted to help stabilize the case. This will take long to fully.
The broken jaw wasn't even the most gruesome part of Jake's injuries though. What doctors found during that surgery made everything even more disturbing. Medical reports are saying Jake Paul lost 7 total teeth during the fight. Several more teeth got loose and had to be pulled out immediately to stop infection. Paul confirmed all the dental damage in another Instagram post, writing 2 titanium plates on each side. Some teeth removed have to have only liquids for 7 days. The harsh truth about heavyweight boxing has completely shocked Jake's fan base. Many of them really believe their guy could hang with the best fighters in the sport.
Couple of times pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down.
Boxing people have been split down the middle between feeling sorry for Jake's injuries and saying he got exactly what was coming to him for constantly challenging real fighters. This is where everything gets absolutely crazy though. Sources are saying Gervonta Davis has been watching this whole situation play out with pure joy and satisfaction. Tank was originally scheduled to fight Jake Paul back in November before legal drama killed their bout. Plenty of people think Davis is secretly happy he didn't have to deal with the YouTube star under those specific conditions Paul's team wanted.
To Anthony Joshua sleeping Jake and breaking his jaw in 2 different places, along with breaking his teeth. Gervonta joined the fun with the rest of the boxing community by throwing a meme on Jake Paul. That was his reaction, as you guys see above.
According to people close to Davis, Tank has been sending messages in private group chats, absolutely destroying Jake Paul over the injuries and that knockout loss. Someone from Tank's inner circle spilled this. Gervonta saw those hospital pictures and literally couldn't stop laughing for 20 minutes straight. He kept saying, "I told you all this clown wasn't ready for real boxing." These private comments started leaking onto social media through different boxing channels and fan pages. Now there's massive controversy about whether Davis is being disrespectful or just telling the truth.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery?
Tons of fans think Tank has every right to clown Jake Paul after the YouTuber spent months publicly trashing Davis and calling him unprofessional when their November fight got cancelled. The bad blood between these two has been brewing for months. Jake Paul's brutal loss to Anthony Joshua just gave Gervonta Davis the perfect weapon to fire back at all that disrespect. The most shocking part of Tank's reaction happened when sources say he started comparing Jake Paul's injuries to what would have gone down if they actually fought in November.
Down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2 when he caught him, he moved AJ.
People close to Davis claim he's been telling everyone in his camp that Jake got off easy fighting Anthony Joshua instead of him. One training partner of Tank's shared this. Gervonta keeps saying that AJ at least finished it quick and clean. Tank said if they had fought he would have made Jake suffer for all 12 rounds before knocking him out just to teach him a lesson. These comments sparked huge debate online. Many boxing analysts keep pointing out that Tank Davis at 135 pounds could never inflict the same physical damage that Anthony Joshua did at 243 pounds. Tank's supporters argue though that his precision and speed would have caused Jake way more problems than Joshua's power. They say the fight would have been far more embarrassing for Paul.
Yeah, he just represents everything that's wrong with boxing, unprofessionalism, and he's getting what he's reaping what he sows. But I hate working with people like that. He stands everyone up, film crews, everything, doesn't do any promotion.
Truth is, we'll never know what would have happened between Tank and Jake. The cancelled fight keeps being one of the biggest what-ifs in recent boxing history. Jake Paul originally called out Gervonta Davis back in August 2025. Both camps worked for months, putting together an exhibition fight for November in Miami. That September press conference was awkward and uncomfortable with Davis showing barely any enthusiasm for the matchup. Paul made controversial comments about Tank's reading abilities and legal troubles. Davis called Paul a clown during the press conference while Jake kept bringing up Tank's history of legal issues. This created an extremely hostile atmosphere between both fighters. Then in late October, just weeks before the scheduled fight, Davis's ex-girlfriend filed a civil lawsuit accusing him of battery, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. Most Valuable Promotions immediately canceled the fight. Jake Paul went on a massive social media rant, absolutely destroying Tank's character and reputation. Paul wrote on X, Gervonta Davis is an actual walking human piece of garbage. Working with him is an absolute nightmare. The unprofessionalism, the bizarre requests, the showing up hours late to shoots. If you support this man, you support the most vile sin a man can commit.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process Jake would be
according to multiple. These harsh words from Jake created permanent bad blood between both fighters. Tank has been waiting for the perfect moment to get his revenge ever since. Gervonta Davis initially stayed quiet about the cancellation, but earlier in December he finally broke his silence and fired back at Jake Paul's claims.
AJ came right back in and swung, but he did move him back.
When this fight was first announced, you said to several media members that like initially you weren't down for this fight. You thought it was just a little bit too much too soon, to paraphrase. Did he do better? Did Jake do better than you thought? Result aside, obviously you wanted him to win. You thought, I think by the end that he was going to win, but did he actually do better than you thought initially?
According to reports, Davis claimed that Jake Paul actually called off the fight because he was getting beaten up badly in sparring, not because of Tank's legal issues. Tank posted and then deleted several messages on social media, including one that read MVP couldn't uphold nothing. Al Heyman had to come in to take over everything. MVP is garbage, I'll run nothing at Netflix. These deleted posts added fuel to the fire and made it crystal clear that Tank Davis has zero respect for Jake Paul or his promotional company. Now with Jake lying in a hospital bed with a shattered jaw and missing teeth, Tank finally has the ultimate proof that his warnings about Jake not being ready for real boxing were completely accurate.
And doesn't do any posts, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad this all happened this way so that he doesn't get, you know, the biggest paycheck of his life and just continues to be a piece of shit.
The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on TYSON.
The savage nature of Tank's reaction has created a massive divide in the boxing community, with different groups having completely opposite takes on whether his behavior is acceptable. Traditional boxing purists have actually been siding with Gervonta Davis, arguing that Jake Paul brought this on himself by constantly disrespecting professional fighters and treating boxing like a joke. One longtime boxing journalist commented Jake Paul spent years calling out legitimate champions, mocking their skills and pretending he belonged in their league. Now he's learned a very painful lesson. Tank has every right to say, "I told you so."
Yeah, just a lot of punching down, practicing, hitting below my knees, and a lot of speed.
He warming up.
We're
now.
sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass and I'm gonna beat Jaden Love ass. On my mama, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass. On my mama. And he laughing.
This perspective has connected with millions of hardcore boxing fans who have been waiting for someone to humble Jake Paul and expose his boxing limitations. Jake Paul's massive fan base has fired back at Tank Davis with equal intensity, though accusing him of being a coward who's hiding behind legal issues instead of proving himself in the ring. One viral tweet supporting Jake read, "At least Jake Paul had the balls to fight Anthony Joshua." Tank Davis stays fighting guys half his size and then talks trash when real fighters get hurt. This counter-argument has gained serious traction, especially among younger fans who see Jake as a fearless warrior for taking such a dangerous fight on short notice. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Jake Paul showed genuine heart by facing Anthony Joshua, but he was clearly outmatched and probably shouldn't have taken the fight in the first place.
Right, listen, respect to Jake. You know, he was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while. He's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake. And listen, as I said to Nikisa, at the end of the day, he took shots that a lot of people would have got knocked out clean out by, especially at the end, you know. So, yeah.
Was it frustrating for you to watch?
No, I mean, maybe, like, obviously, when when someone's moving like that.
The medical reality of Jake's injuries has also raised serious questions about his boxing future and whether he'll ever be the same fighter again. Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua's promoter, told ESPN after the fight, "Hats off to Jake. A broken jaw is really difficult to come back from, but that last shot AJ hit him with would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights." This statement acknowledges Jake's toughness while also confirming that the damage was severe and could have lasting effects on his career.
Respect to Jake Paul that we took a few rounds to get going because Jake was moving a lot and holding a lot, and you know it was difficult to nail him clean. I think, but eventually AJ took his time, cut him off, and smashed him about. And listen, respect to Jake Paul because that last shot, I know he broke his shattered his jaw, but it would have knocked most heavyweights out, so I've got to give him credit.
I was going to say, in the end, are you pleased with that? Because obviously everyone was saying...
We'll argue that. He at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's tough. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him and 6 inches taller. That's insane.
Doctors familiar with jaw fractures have explained that Jake's specific injury, bilateral mandibular fractures requiring titanium plates, typically requires 6 to 8 months of recovery before contact sports can be resumed. Some medical experts believe Jake could be sidelined for the entire year of 2026, which would completely derail his momentum and promotional plans. The dental work alone will take months to complete properly, with Jake needing extensive reconstructive work to replace the 7 teeth he lost during the fight.
And when they're rugby tackling you, but he had to do what he had to do to survive, and he did that. So, you know, it's very difficult to go in like, you know, out the ring for 14 months and just be razor sharp with a guy running. And so, yeah, probably 2 or 3 rounds more than expected. But fair play to Jake Paul. He was a lot tougher than I thought, and he took a lot more shots than I thought he could.
What did AJ?
One oral surgeon explained losing 7 teeth from impact trauma is extremely serious. He'll need implants, bone grafting, and probably multiple surgeries over the next year. These long-term consequences have made Tank Davis's mockery seem even more cruel to some observers, while others argue that Jake knew the risks when he signed the contract. The aftermath of this fight has completely changed the narrative around Jake Paul's boxing career and forced everyone to reconsider what his future in the sport actually looks like. Joshua himself acknowledged Jake's bravery during the post-fight press conference, saying Jake did well while it lasted. "I take my hat off to him because a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did."
Respect to Jake Paul for taking the fight. Took a heavy shot, but you know what a fantastic fight he put on. But big well done to AJ. We knew from day one AJ was going to do it, but the better fighter was going to win.
People said that Jake Paul was running. Do you feel like he ran, or do you like...
I mean, against someone like AJ, AJ's a big guy, strong guy, and he can hurt you. So yeah, 100%, like, he's going to want to avoid his power, but you know what, he got caught in the corner and bang you.
Joshua even suggested Jake could still have a future in boxing, potentially against fighters more his size like Gervonta Davis or Ryan Garcia in 2026. This opened the door for a potential Jake Paul versus Tank Davis fight to be rescheduled once Jake recovers, which would arguably be even bigger now after all this drama. The question is whether Jake Paul will actually want to face Tank Davis after experiencing the brutal reality of getting hit by Anthony Joshua.
Or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the...
Jake's own words after the fight suggested he might be rethinking his entire approach to boxing. "I'm going to come back and fight people my weight and go for the Cruiserweight World Championship at some point," Paul said. "I'm going to take a little break." This statement suggests Jake finally understands that he has no business fighting at heavyweight. Social media has been absolutely flooded with memes and jokes about Jake's broken jaw and missing teeth, with Tank's fans leading the charge and trolling the YouTuber.
At least 1-3.
One viral meme shows Jake's pre-fight trash talk next to the hospital photos, with the caption "before and after meeting real boxing," which has been shared millions of times. Another popular post shows Tank Davis laughing with the text "when you dodge a fight and then watch your replacement do exactly what you would have done." These jokes have frustrated Jake's fanbase, who feel that Tank is being disrespectful to someone who just went through serious physical trauma. The harsh reality is that trash talk and mockery are part of combat sports, especially when fighters have been insulting each other for months. As Jake recovers over the coming months with his jaw wired shut and missing teeth being replaced, he'll have plenty of time to reflect on whether continuing his boxing career is worth the risks.
Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him and 6 inches taller. That's insane. One of the most skilled fighters in the...
Nobody saw this coming at that level.
Graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron, is fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And
until then. Meanwhile, Tank Davis continues to sit at the top of the lightweight division, watching his name trend as everyone debates whether he would have done even worse damage than Anthony Joshua. The only way we'll ever know for sure is if Jake Paul fully recovers and decides to run back their cancelled fights sometime in 2026 or 2027. Until then, the boxing world will keep debating and Tank Davis will keep laughing at the brutal karma that Jake Paul received for months of disrespecting real professional fighters. Make sure you stay locked in for more boxing coverage and don't miss any of the latest updates from the world of combat sports.